Leaving milk and cookies next to the tree for Santa on Christmas Eve is always a fun tradition for families of young children. The delight in their eyes when they find a cookie with a missing bite is priceless. Today, we have a wonderful vintage recipe from our collection. These gingerbread cookies are so easy to make and fun to decorate that come Christmas Eve, we're pretty sure Santa's going to love them too. Happy holidays and welcome to Graham's Recipe Box. There's nothing like the warm and comforting fragrance of ginger, clove, and cinnamon at the holidays. There are so many wonderful holiday recipes I have found as a vintage recipe collector, and today we're going to share one for gingerbread cookies. They're incredibly easy to make, egg-free, and fun to decorate. In fact, my daughter made these on her own once when she was only 7. So if that sounds good to you, grab your aprons and let's get started. To make our gingerbread cookies, you will need unsalted butter, brown sugar, dark molasses, all-purpose flour, baking soda, ground cloves, cinnamon, ground ginger, salt, and water. Start by mixing the dry ingredients in a bowl. Use a spoon to blend them and make sure to turn the bowl and scoop from the inside to the outside. In a separate bowl, blend the butter and brown sugar together until they are nice and creamy, about 3 minutes. Add the molasses and beat that in well. Now, add the flour mixture along with the water. This is going to look a bit like crushed graham crackers, and it's okay to add more water a teaspoon at a time to bring it together. After that, work it in the bowl with your hands and then turn it out onto a floured work surface. Knead the dough for a couple of minutes until it's not too stiff and looks like this. The recipe makes a lot of cookies, so to make it more manageable, divide the dough into 3 parts. Keep one part on your work surface and wrap the others in plastic and refrigerate them until needed. Put a little bit of flour on your work surface and rolling pin. Roll out the dough to just less than 1/4 inch thick. If you go too thin, the cookies could burn. Too thick, and they will be chewy, and you'll get fewer cookies from your dough. So roll this out until it seems right. Dip your cookie cutter into a dish of flour, then start cutting out cookies. Try to use as much dough surface as possible so you get the most number of cookies cut out. Remove the unused dough and set that aside. Then, with a spatula, move the cookies over to your baking sheet. They should be about 1/2 inch away from each other. Take the uncut dough scraps and reform them into a ball. Repeat the process of rolling it out, cutting the cookies, and transferring them to the baking sheet until all of the dough has been used or your baking sheet is full. Depending upon the size of cutters you use, you can probably get 12 cookies out of each portion of the dough. Use a small brush to remove any flour that sticks to the cookies before you bake them. Bake the cookies at 350 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. When done, set the pan on a wire rack to cool. I like to leave the cookies on the pan for a couple of minutes so they set and aren't gooey. For chocolate chip, gooey is great, but for gingerbread, you want them to be more firm. After a couple minutes, move the cookies to a paper towel to finish cooling. Repeat this process with all of your dough until you've used it all up. We like to make the cookies in a medium size, which results in about 36 in total. But if you use a smaller cutter, you'll have enough to feed Santa and all the elves at the workshop. Once the cookies have fully cooled, you can decorate. I remember dreaming up fabulous designs to dazzle Santa while my mother baked in the kitchen. I think it worked too, because that year I got the Sean Cassidy record I asked for. I was so happy I actually hugged the record, and my mother was terrified I'd break it in half. I'm happy to say it survived, and I listened to it until I wore it out. At this point, we could make a homemade royal icing, but I have found commercial cookie icing easier to use with better colors than I can produce at home. If you're interested in the homemade recipe, let me know in the comments. If you use the commercial variety, make sure you get cookie icing and not decorating icing. Decorating icing is the type you use on cupcakes and cake and doesn't set firm the way you want on a gingerbread cookie. Most brands of cookie icing will set up in about 4 minutes, but you need to allow 4 hours for them to fully harden, so keep that in mind when you are finished with decorating. You don't want to stack them before they're fully hardened, otherwise they'll stick together. I used a couple different techniques in decorating. Old-fashioned gingerbread cookies from Europe were decorated with white icing in simple lines and dots, so I did a few that way. And of course, I had to make some that used the flooding method, where you outline the shape, then fill the center. Cookie icing will ooze a bit after you squeeze it out, so it will flood the space, and you just need to fill in a few dots and dashes. Top the cookies with sprinkles or colored sugar as you prefer. Santa Claus is going to enjoy them all. I hope you like our fun and easy gingerbread cookies. We'd love to hear what you think and see the designs you and your kids come up with. Let us know all about it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel for more great vintage recipes. See you next time.